This is self-reported and also in public, so I don't know. Maybe you guys are masking a little bit. But those are the kind of those are the kind of questions. And then there was actually a depression scale that they did, which I don't have access to the actual questions.
I'd say maybe more irritable. Because once a week I'll just like go on like a tirade at Anna about things.
About the world.
About a doom and gloom tirade.
Yeah.
Be like, here's all the things that are fucked right now.
Okay, well then here's a question then. Do you think that comes mostly from social media or from podcasts? And would you consider podcasts social media?
I guess they would be. I consume a lot of podcasts. My work allows me to have my headphones on the entire time, so I get a lot of podcasts downloaded
It's nice
into
your
my
boss
brain.
lets you do that.
Yeah, it's really nice of him.
Misha's a nice boss.
Misha's a really cool guy.
Yeah. It tunes
Would you
tunes them
consider
out
it
too.
social media? I don't know.
I don't know
I don't
either.
think because you don't engage with it the same way you engage with other stuff, right?
But it
It's
does
a
have the same.
one-sided-
It does kind of have the
It's
same
close
effect.
to YouTube though.
Yeah.
It's close to YouTube
But
minus
like
the
if I
visual
don't-
component, but
I just
no comment.
I listen to like I go and find podcasts I want. I don't think I've ever like clicked on a suggested podcast.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah,
Like the
and
only way I
we're-
find new podcasts or something, like I'll have like a guest will be on a podcast. I'm like, oh, they sound interesting or whatever, they're funny, and then I'll go search them out. So that's like right? Like you're finding your other stuff like organically.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, Spotify, I guess, recommends you stuff, but I don't think I've ever. Yeah, I've never
They
done a
recommend me
Spotify.
shit music, and I don't know what they do for podcasts.
I love
mind the music
Spotify recommendations. They give
Really? I
me
fucking hate
great
it.
stuff. Yeah.
It just
Yeah, but Jared, that's because your taste is poor.
because I'll be
your
like,
taste
oh,
in music is
yeah.
poor
Yeah.
and uneducated.
my issue is like I'll be like, oh, I like this artist, and it's a woman, and they'll be like, well, here's a bunch of other female art. It's like, no, that's not what I like.
I think with Spotify though, you got to train your feed.
Yeah, you
'Cause
gotta
I
you gotta
have,
like songs.
You gotta like songs, and once you've done that, like, yeah, because I have like a bank of like 2,000 liked songs, and the recommendations, like the Discover Weekly, that kind of thing, is pretty good.
Yeah, mine's amazing.
If I listen to it, I get at least 2 or 3 songs. So I'm like, yeah, that's going on the list.
Spotify's been the coolest thing I've found in this new technological age that I've gotten the most out of. The recommendations. I find two new artists probably a week that I really dig, and that's amazing. Before that, I would go years before finding something like
How
new
is
and
your?
awesome.
And I would absolutely. Well, actually, let me walk that back. I don't know about absolutely, but on my phone, when I look at the stats, it was like Spotify counts as social media. I kind of see it, but yeah,
I don't think
from
so.
an algorithm point of view, it's feeding. It's the same kind of technology, but yeah, it's not as social in terms of like commenting and things. And that's why I would.
And
put
music's
YouTube
not
in a
social
separate
media,
category.
right? Like it's
Exactly. But I would put YouTube in a separate category from podcasts simply because of the commenting.
Sure.
You know, like there's like that's that distinction. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, no, the Spotify thing is amazing. But Matt, I was gonna ask this though. Your music listening behavior, do you listen to as many albums or is it all just songs?
Just
Because
songs. Just songs.
Yeah, I definitely stopped listening to albums.
If I find
is something
if
that
I find a song that I've from an artist I haven't heard before, and I really like it, I probably will go check out their album.
Yeah. Like Kendrick's album like came out. I was like, oh, I'll listen to that whole thing front to back in one sitting.
The Dust Collector,
Look at
Dust
this guy
Collectors
trying
just
to
came
sound
out with a
like he
real
knows,
banger.
Music. And look at
I was
you
ju- I
trying to
was-
plug your band.
Yeah.
Dust Collectors are super hot right now.
They're super hot right now. I did listen to your album. I will admit that that's an album that I listened to.
I know we have our metrics, and we can see that Germany had one stream.
It was me, baby. It was me. Actually, no, it couldn't have been me. I was not in Germany.
Oh yeah,
anymore.
you're in Belgium. Same thing. One
Somebody
stream,
else.
one stream out of both.
Somewhere over there.
Surprisingly,
was
Africa
me.
has got a lot of streams. We get some strange places. Yeah, it's super weird. North Korea.
This. What? North Korea doesn't even have the internet.
No, I'm just kidding. It was North Korea.
This podcast gets a lot of listens out of China and India that I wasn't expecting.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because I've talked a lot of shit about China and Teresa's lab group, my wife's lab group. my beautiful wife Teresa, her lab group is collaborating with China, and they go there sometimes. And so the discussion came up once where it was like, oh, well, what if we got a chance to go to China? I was like, I can't go to China. I've talked way too much shit about them on the internet. They're gonna stop me at the border right away. And
CCP
like,
on top, baby.
Yeah,
Xi
they got
Jinping
you.
for 100 years. Let's go.
The Winnie the Pooh. Well, yeah, no. But it's interesting though, because I think getting back to the Spotify thing, it's like that fact of like I'm now into songs and not albums, I think says something again about this whole like algorithm derived thing, in that it's like you're getting
Bites, small form content versus the entire picture of content.
Exactly. That's exactly the words that I was looking for.
Like I've watched,
and I think that means something.
Like I've watched whole portions of shows on TikTok in 5-minute clips. Because people will just put, and I'll be like, I'll watch part of a movie and then be like, oh, I'll watch the next part. And then I'm like, what am I fucking doing? I should just go download this goddamn movie. Like, what am I, or if it's a movie, it's stupid.
Well, everybody's attention spans have gotten a lot shorter, and everything's kind of changed. So it's Spotify's, you're listening to single songs, but I've also noticed like we put out a couple albums, and initially that was just the thing artists did for the longest time. You get enough songs, and then you make a full length album, and you release it. And we were chatting with our label, and they're like, "That's just not the way of the world anymore. You basically now it's all about singles,
drip feed singles,
drip feed singles, because nobody's going to listen to a full length album. So you're just actually the guy that was talking to me about it said you're basically wasting tracks, because people are going to listen to one song or two songs. And all the other songs you put on the album are just going to get no plays whatsoever. Whereas if you release the same amount of songs in drips and drops, like Jared was saying, they get way more listens, and you can actually get people to actually listen to the entirety of the album. But it just takes a hell of a lot longer.
Right. But I guess, and that makes sense, sure. Like that's the marketplace that exists now. But I guess what I'm saying though is that like, you're missing something from, and this, maybe sounds superficial or like the old music fan, yelling at clouds or whatever, but it's like sitting down to make an album of songs that has like a through line and like continuity and stuff like that. That's different than just putting out songs. There's a difference in the information that's being put out there and the intention of the information that's being put out there. And I feel like you're losing something. And
if you make concept albums.
Yeah, but now that's not possible. Or now it's like, it's not that it's not
like
possible.
Listening to Comfortably Numb, like by singles only would be like a big,
I think
you'd be missing out.
Yeah, exactly.
You still do the exact same thing. You do the exact same thing. You can still have a through line of your album, but you just release everything in singles all the way until you've released the full-length album, and then you release the full-length album.
You do them in order.
Still can have, and you can still have a through line through the whole thing. That's what we're doing.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I guess that, like, yeah, and I get what you're I know what you're saying as someone in a band who's trying to get views on your stuff.
Check out the Dust Collectors, dustcollectorsmusic.com.
We're gonna edit that,
yeah,
because
no free plugs.
This podcast is totally independent
on all your streaming services.
The only way you could get plug something on this podcast is to plug paying for this podcast. Give me money. But it's. You see what I'm saying though, like in this larger philosophical point about like it changes the nature of the information, or the information distribution. And I think that there is something to getting information in that in small bites like that, rather than taking time to get a whole piece of context or a whole larger, context in which that bit of information sits in.
And it's like, I think it's like the same way, like if you're on Reddit, like I rarely, a lot of the times I just look at headlines of an article, and then I'll go in the comments, and it'll be like somebody will just like pluck out the important parts, and I'll read those, and then I'll digest some comments. As informatively, fulfilling as reading an entire article or something.
It makes sense. Here, I happen to have this handy. And it's a quote from Carl Sagan. You all know Carl Sagan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's the drummer for AC/DC.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Also wrote several books about science and physics. But okay, I'll read the larger quote. But I mean, it's all pertinent to the discussion. But I think the last part of it is the most. But I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all the manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of very few and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority, when clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties are in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide almost without noticing back into superstition and darkness. The dumbing down of America is most evident in the slow decay of substantive content in the enormously influential media, the 30-second sound bites, now down to 10 seconds or less, lowest common denominator programming, credulous presentations on pseudoscience and superstition, but especially a kind of celebration of ignorance.
Yikes.
That's
Ironically,
fucking prescient.
Ironically, I saw some guy on TikTok go over that entire quote.
Yeah, there you
So,
go.